Hey everyone, if you're watching this on YouTube, it means you're seeing this little bit before I actually start recording the real podcast. So, if you want to just listen to everything, although it's an unedited podcast anyway, but if you want to listen to the whole thing without this bit, then just go to your podcast app and that will be there. But generally the vibe of this podcast is everything is done without editing anyway. It's all happening in real time. So the start will always be a little bit like me just making sure everything's working. We got this camera, we've got this thing, because I do it all myself. This is just me setting this up and making sure it all works. Also, I just spilled water everywhere. I just spilled water all over my desk, all over my fucking recording device. So this sucks. Okay. I think I'm ready to hit the record button. Oh, and it's back on YouTube. Every so often we'll do an episode on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe if this is... But if you're watching this in general, this podcast mostly comes out in the podcast apps. So as audio only. So if you go to Apple Podcasts, if you go to Spotify, search Unscheduled CEO, you'll find the weekly. It's actually bi-weekly, so there's 2 episodes every week. But occasionally I just get in the mood and I come to this setup and I decide to record it and stick it on YouTube. Okay, let's do this. I need to press these 2 buttons at the same time, so I need to lean forward awkwardly. Let's do this. Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to the Unscheduled CEO podcast. This week, we're going to be talking about the most reliable way to get at least one new client every single month. Oh! I am sitting at my actual desk in the office today at the AJ and Smart office, which is rare. You'll know the last couple of episodes I've been recording just on my handheld recording device. And today we're back in the Unscheduled CEO setup from earlier last year. I think I haven't recorded an episode here for a while. You haven't heard music on the podcast for a while. As you know, the Unscheduled CEO, if this is your first time, the Unscheduled CEO is a weekly podcast that comes out every Tuesday. It is essentially counterintuitive advice for running a small business. And it's kind of like getting a voice note from a mentor, potentially. If I'm, giving you advice that you find valuable, then maybe in a way that I'm like your little voice note mentor. Maybe I should have called the podcast that. Last week, I spoke about our LA Mastermind. So that Mastermind is basically a 2-day event that's happening in LA. I'm going to be running it. If you don't know what a mastermind is, I'm going to be bringing together about 15 to 20 of you, 15 to 20 people in the audience to sit around and figure out how to make your businesses better. I'm going to teach you how to run webinars. I'm going to teach you how to create content the way we do at AJ and Smart. I'm going to show you. Tim Ferriss had an event. He called it Opening the Kimono. Essentially, it's looking behind the scenes of how everything works, the kind of stuff that you don't really get to see online. And so if you're running a small business or if you're a consultant and you want to spend 2 days with me to help you figure out how to grow your business, how to get more clients, all that, the stuff in this podcast, basically, if that's the kind of stuff you like to learn, even the mindset things, then this mastermind is going to be the only opportunity in 2024, or who knows, sometimes there's 6 years between these events. Like, for example, this, I haven't done one of these for 6 years because it's not part of the core AJ and Smart business. But if you're interested in coming to this event, in the show notes, so the show notes of this podcast are in the description. If you're watching it on YouTube, yes, this week there's a YouTube version of this podcast, which is rare. Check that out on YouTube if you want to watch the video of this episode. But if you're interested in coming to that mastermind, let me tell you, I announced it last week. In the show notes, there's a Google form that you can fill out. I have already gotten enough people to fill the form out since last week to go ahead with the event. So the event is 100% happening. I'm already happy with the revenue for the event. So if no more people buy this ticket, I'm more than happy. However, what I've decided to do, because I do want to give the larger AJ and Smart audience an opportunity to buy a ticket to this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys listening to the Unscheduled CEO, listening to this, watching this right now, or listening to this, I'm going to give you until May 16th to fill out. Well, no, wait a second. No, that's not true. Basically, I'm going to give you until next Tuesday. So today is April 29th. I'm going to give you until next Tuesday to apply. I'm hearing a clicking noise. I hope that's not appearing in the podcast. I'm going to give you until next Tuesday to apply. And then I'm going to close applications. So right now I'm letting people apply for the price that's $5,000 with discounts if you're in some of our other programs, which I think is very, very fair. And also what I've seen with the signups, it's obviously cheap enough for people to sign up to it pretty spontaneously. But I'm going to give you until next Tuesday. Just let me give you the exact date. Tuesday, the 7th of May. You have until Tuesday, the 7th of May to sign up to this. Then I'm going to choose, basically I reach out to the people as we go, the people who are a good fit for this. Then on the 16th of May, then I'm going to close applications. Then on the 16th of May, I'm going to double the price of it and let people in our larger audience sign up. The thing is, this podcast, not a lot of people listen to. I think we have in total every week, 2,000 to 3,000 people are listening to this podcast. Our mailing list is 180,000 people. And since just the way I price things, if you listen to the pricing episodes a couple of weeks back, the fact that this has been so easy to sell means obviously the price is quite low. And so I want to double the price for the larger audience. So if you're listening to this before May 7th and you want to come to a mastermind, if you want to come to 2 days, it's at Sam Oven's office, which is super cool in LA. 2 days of just talking business. There's going to be maybe some special guests. I'm not going to announce that. That's a secret. You have until May 7th to apply now. And if you can't figure out how to apply, even though I just said, go to the notes of this podcast and click the Google Forms link, then I can't help you. I'm very sorry. If you're listening to this podcast, one last thing I'll say before I jump into this episode. If you're listening to this podcast and you are not listening to it in the app that you listen to all your other podcasts on, make sure you go to your podcast app, search for Unscheduled CEO, and just click follow on it. That'll make it easier to figure out when episodes come out. We're now doing an episode every Tuesday. So every Tuesday is the main episode like this one. And then every Thursday is the voice note. So the voice note is basically a super quick thought that I have. So this Thursday, there'll be a voice note. Tuesday is the main episode. Thursday is the voice note. This week's episode, I think, is going to be one of the most important episodes you ever listen to of this podcast. And it's because I'm going to be talking about the tactic, the tool that we have been using at AJ and Smart since 2016. Honestly, we've been using it since 2011, but we didn't know how to harness the power of it until 2016. And this tool, when people ask me, how do I get more clients? This is basically everyone's problem. The delivery of the work is rarely the consultant's problem. You can probably run a workshop. You can probably do the branding work for your client. You can probably do the work for your client. And actually, you need the practice anyway. That makes you better at what you do. But usually, the biggest problem for consultants or small business owners is getting enough people to actually book you, getting enough calls, essentially. And this episode, I'm going to show you exactly the system I would recommend, exactly the step-by-step process I would recommend for everyone listening to this podcast to actually do if you want to get clients. And, oh, my phone. This is the thing about this podcast being... My sister messaging me, do I want lunch? I'm recording the podcast and you're now in it. Okay. So what I'm going to show you today, the goal of this episode is to show you a system that will get you one new client every month. Now, here's the thing. Most of you will not actually do this. I know this because I've been telling people to do this for years. In fact, even at AJ and Smart, we often forget about this thing. And and then stop doing it ourselves, and then we make less money, and then we get less clients. And even, I set up a new department at AJ and Smart a couple of years ago to focus purely on the corporate side of the business. And they also didn't manage to do this. And it was just the simplest solution to get clients. It's just something that it's one of those things where it's not sexy to do it, but it gets you the most clients. And to put it in a nutshell, I'm not going to hold this up. This is a podcast. It's not something where I'm trying to tease you the whole time. That thing is running webinars. That tactic, that tool is running webinars. So if you're listening to this, I would actually recommend for this episode going to the YouTube version, because I'm going to show you some examples visually. I'll try to do my best in the audio of it to make it clear to you. But I want to show you the funnel, so that the system, the step-by-step system that has been working for AJ and Smart since at least the latest point is 2016, to get call bookings. So this is a system that generates call bookings for us. And these call bookings are call bookings from clients. And then we turn some of those clients into paying customers. And this is, if you can get call bookings, if you can get people on the phone interested in talking to you, I mean, most of the time, that's all you need, right? Most of the time, your problem is just that you don't have enough people interested in what you're doing, and don't have enough people interested in booking calls with you. I'm going to show you this. It's deceptively simple. But again, most of you won't do it. So again, it's a webinar. Oh, that's not what I wanted to draw. So I know this is not great for the audio version. Please check this out on YouTube. I'm not going to do a YouTube video every week, but I think this is important to see. A webinar. So a webinar, essentially, we do not call it a webinar, by the way. We call it a free training, because that's actually what it is. A free training. The goal of the free training is essentially to give people a preview of what it is you do as a company. Actually, I'll go into that in a minute. So the free training is the center point. The free training, what it does, the goal of the free training, the main like number one priority of the training is to, by the way, if you're watching this and you're already a marketing expert and you know about it, like, this might be a bit boring, but I think even if you're a marketing expert, if you're not running webinars, if you're not getting clients and you're a marketing expert, then you suck at marketing anyway. So let's have a look at this. So the main goal of it is to get a call booking. So you want a potential client to book a call with you. That's it, really, right? You want that to happen. And you are essentially feeding traffic into that webinar. So traffic is the thing that's being fed into that webinar. So all of your traffic is being fed into that webinar. I'm going to give you a lot of examples in a minute. I just want to have this laid out for you all, just to show you how simple it can be visualized. So traffic is people, right? People in your audience, or people who you know, or people, whatever it is. So we've got traffic. So your traffic goes into a free training, and your free training pushes people towards a call booking, a discovery call with you. So let me give you an example, a couple of examples. So just to show you, we do these all the time. The one that we started running, this is the one that we started running back in 2016. It's called How to Run and Sell Design Sprints Like a Pro. This is literally the landing page, which was made in ClickFunnels over the space of about 2 seconds. If you sign up for it, I'm actually embarrassed about this video. It's so bad. I look completely different as well. I recorded it. I'm just going to fill this out so I can show you how it looks. You have to fill all this stuff out. I'm just going to daddy@ajsmart.com, register now. Let me see if it goes straight into it. Oh, you're all signed up. Okay. Oh no, damn it. It's not going to play this. This one plays. Okay. So basically this is what it unlocks. It unlocks a video that I created. Now your videos don't need to look this good. like most of the time, like I want to show you the other one is so ugly looking. Okay, wait a second. You know what? I'm going to hide my screen so that I can actually write my real email address in here and get the email and open it up. So I want to watch it. I know this, again, it's an experimental episode where if you're not on YouTube, you might miss some of these things. But basically, I'm just filling out the form to register to watch the webinar. Free training, all right? Now I'm going to open up the free training. But all it is, it's a really janky, really low quality video of me just sitting at my computer, talking to the computer. And it was a live training event. Okay, this is somehow not working, but you can see this one here. Reaction scene. You can see this one here. So basically the structure of the webinar is me talking about the problems that exist in this case, we're talking about facilitation. So I'm talking about the problems that exist that facilitation can solve. And then I'm basically saying, hey, jump on a call with me. And here you can book a call. So essentially the entire structure is we're looking at traffic. So we're getting people interested in a free training. And at the end of this free training, we're asking people to book a call with us. Now, you're thinking in your mind, yeah, but how do I get the traffic? I'll talk about that later. The important point I'm trying to make here is about the free training. So free training is basically a Zoom call where you are training people on a topic that you want to book people for. So for example, if you're a facilitator, then your free training is, and let's say you're a facilitator who wants to help large corporate teams get more done, or let's say you're a facilitator who wants to help, who wants to sell team retreats, which is a common thing that facilitators do. Then you're doing a free training about how to run the best retreat for your team, right? And that free training it's basically a pitch for what you do. So you're showing them all of the ways to do it yourself, that they could do it themselves, but they're not going to really have time to do all of this themselves. And so most of them will want to book a call with you to see if you can do it for them. So free training is in fact a training, but it's also at the same time a preview of just how much knowledge you have on this topic. Let me get one thing out of the way. Let me just put this down to a very, very simple formula. If you run one webinar every 2 weeks for the next year, you will never, ever have to worry about getting clients again. You won't have to even think about how to do social media properly. You can half-ass everything else in your client generation, in your lead generation, if you run one of these free trainings live every week, every second week for the next year. Even if you do for the next 6 months, honestly, it'll probably have the same results. But this is running these, getting good at these is such an unbelievable skill. It's so unbelievably powerful that once you learn it, you just always know you can generate leads and you always know you can generate revenue. It's actually unbelievable. It's like the quintessential one-to-many marketing style. So you're doing it one time to many people and then they're booking calls from you. The other cool thing is that you have a very simple way to see if your business is working, if your lead generation is working. If nobody turns up to the webinars, then your traffic is broken and you need to improve your traffic. If nobody is booking calls, then your webinar needs to be better. If nobody is paying you after they book a call, then you need to get better at your sales pitch and your offer. So running a webinar can really help you structure how you talk about your business. It can help you build a lot of credibility because you're the one out there teaching. This is something that Jason Fried said as well. He said, don't outspend your competition, out-teach your competition. And doing regular free trainings is one of the best ways to get very, very good at this. If I were to look at all of the marketing exercises that we do at AJ and Smart and rank them, and we had to stop doing other things, we could stop almost everything besides webinars and still make a really good amount of money. This podcast, YouTube, LinkedIn, almost everything, run webinars, and we would be good for years. But where do the people come from to come to the webinars? That's what you're going to be wondering next. I just want to lock this in, the webinar thing. I want to really lock it in. The structure of a webinar, by the way, you also don't even need to come up with the structure. The structure exists. It's in this book called Expert Secrets. This is actually my copy. And in this book, there's a chapter called The Perfect Webinar. Actually, there's 2 chapters that I recommend you skip to. One is on page 91. It's called, this book is called Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson. I don't give a shit if you don't like Russell Brunson. You need to read the book anyway. I don't want to hear any, hey, Russell, he's annoying, blah, blah, blah. Read the book if you actually want to learn how to do webinars, which is a very important skill to have. Page 91 is the Epiphany Bridge. This teaches you how to talk to your clients about what you do and get them excited about it. This is something you're going to need to learn. And then I want you to skip to, you should read the whole book, but just read these 2 things first, and then you're going to have a pretty good idea. Then I want you to go to here we go. Sorry, this is not exciting. Then I want you to go to page 150, which is called The Perfect Webinar. And I want you to read that. If you buy this book, just get the Kindle version, whatever. I like the physical version, and read those 2 things I just recommended to you. Going to be ahead of 90% of other people trying to figure out how to get clients. So does this mean it's easy? No, running webinars is not easy, but it doesn't matter if there are easier things which are not working for you. Cool. Okay. You're posting on LinkedIn every day and it's not getting you clients. Great. It's easy, but it's not working. So it doesn't matter, right? A webinar is a place where you bring people from all of your social platforms. You need a place to target people at, and having a webinar, having a regular live session that's coming up every 2 weeks is the perfect place to send people. It's the perfect focused marketing activity for you to focus on and say, instead of like, what am I doing on LinkedIn this week? Well, what am I doing on LinkedIn this week is I'm focusing everyone in my audience to come to this free training, which is a webinar, which I'm constantly trying to perfect. And yes, it means you'll be trying a few different trainings. And we've probably run 100 different variations of the trainings that we've done. But that just, it just means that you're going to have a lot of people repeatedly coming to your webinars, but you'll find a webinar or a free training that excites a lot of people, and then you'll end up focusing on that and repeating that. So the other cool thing is, that's honestly, forget about the other cool thing. Running webinars, running free trainings is just, I'll say the other cool thing. If you get good at running webinars, free trainings, you've basically got a skill that almost nobody has. And do you want to know how much people charge to make webinars for other people? Listen to Russell Brunson's episode. Maybe it's like 2 weeks ago from the 29th of April. Maybe you're not going to search this, but I'll tell you anyway. He charges $100,000 to help you put together your webinar over the space of 1 day, and then a couple of follow-ups. I worked with a guy a couple of years ago called Troy Baker, I believe. He charged us €25,000 for essentially a first draft webinar in writing. Dollars, sorry. If you're able to take someone else's mess and chaos and turn it into a webinar story, which is essentially the best pitch ever to book a call with you, that's also an unbelievably invaluable skill. People who can run webinars, it's something even at AJ and Smart, right? I don't really think anyone else besides me and Laura can really create a good webinar currently at AJ and Smart. It is one of the hardest tasks to do. And the only way to get good at it is just trying it every 2 weeks. So what I usually do, or what we did in the beginning, is we'll just book, like how you work backwards from it is you choose a date. This is when I'm doing my free training. Let's say it's in 2 weeks from now. And then all you're trying to do, and by the way, this free training can be a Zoom webinar, and people register on your Zoom webinar page. It couldn't be easier. And all you're trying to do for the next 2 weeks is fill that up. Now, what do I mean by fill it up? You're thinking, yeah, but I have a really tight, like Jonathan, you have this huge audience. And this is how it was for us, if 6 people turn up to your webinar, if 5 people turn up to your webinar, and one of them book a call, and one of them books you, you now have 1 new client. You do not need to have massively full webinars for this to be a successful thing for you. The traffic part of it is important, but once you have something to point your traffic to, it will be much easier for you to figure out how to actually use your social media and use your content marketing. A lot of people have content marketing with no target. It's like, where do I send people to? What do I do? And unless you're trying to become a personal brand, like, you need actually to have somewhere to send people. This podcast, for example, is more of a fun exercise for me. Although now I have this mastermind, which I'm going to do one-off as a little test. But don't take this podcast as a good example, because this is mostly in the whole AJ and Smart universe. This is mostly just for fun and just for me to test out new equipment. This is like the testing grounds for the bigger things we do at AJ and Smart. But for you, if you're on LinkedIn, if you're on YouTube, if you have a newsletter, now guess what? You have a thing to send people to. I'm not going to go through right now and do an actual training on how to build a webinar. Please just fucking get the book Expert Secrets. Read it. Don't just spend one day this week. If you can do just one thing this week, read Expert Secrets. And if you're super smart, read Expert Secrets and then read One to Many. You're going to be so far ahead, and you're going to be so inspired. And it's going to help you clarify all of the things you've been struggling with explaining your business. And the cool thing is, once you have a webinar structure that you like, a lot of people say it takes about 6 months of running live webinars until you arrive at the thing you actually think is good. Once you have that structure, you can then automate it. It can just be a video like we're doing. You can see the example of what we're doing if you go to facilitator.com and watch that webinar. But please don't book a call unless you actually want to buy the thing, because my team will actually take that call. It's real salespeople on the other side. So yeah, the webinar, once you feel happy with it, once you're getting enough call bookings, then you can automate it. Then your website will literally just be, they land on your website, they unlock and watch the recorded webinar, and you get call bookings. Every day I wake up at AJ and Smart, we have, actually I'd love to ask Laura outside, but I'm going to guess we have like 25 to 30 call bookings every day. And this is a mixture between our corporate call bookings, so people from large companies looking to book us for facilitation or training. It's people booking calls to book our high-end expensive training in person, or it's people booking calls to buy our more expensive online courses and coaching. This happens overnight. This happens automatically, or over the day, whatever. And this is like the next level of it. Once you have your webinar that you love to do and that gets you call bookings, now you can turn on paid ads in Facebook. Now you can turn on paid ads in Google, like we've been doing for the last... Well, you see our ads all the time, I guess. That's the point where you can kind of upgrade and do that. And yeah, I wish I could take sometimes when I meet someone and I tell them this, like, look, I'll meet a small business owner, and they're like, yeah, it's always up and down. Like, some months I'm super busy, some months there's no work coming in. And I'm like, let me show you guys this meme, and I'll explain it to the people who can't see it. So it's actually a pretty good one. Here we go. So I posted this into our Facilitator Club community. So it's a picture. Oh yeah, I'll open it. I posted when you don't do any marketing. So it's a picture of a guy. It's you just I should have kind of zoomed in, but first of all, you see his head poking out of the water. It looks like he's drowning, and it says no clients, no traffic, no revenue. And then the next slide, you see that he's actually sitting on the ground in the water. And next to him, it says, me literally doing no marketing for my, in this case, client business. That's what most people are doing. Like, it's crazy when I first start coaching people in my programs or when I do a mastermind, often it's like, yeah, like I'm having loads of trouble getting clients, and I'm like, so let's talk about what you're doing to get clients, because it's not just like an automatic thing. You know, what I always say to people is word of mouth is not a strategy. Word of mouth will get you clients. But when, and by the way, if you're listening to this podcast and you get so much work from word of mouth that you never worry about getting clients, and you always have enough money and you can always scale things up and you can always choose which clients you want, don't listen to this podcast anymore, because you have nailed it. But for most people, you need to have a machine that generates leads and generates call bookings so that you never have to worry about not having clients. And that's, in my opinion, I think a webinar, and I like to call them free trainings, that's a center point of all of this. It's the thing that turns strangers into customers. It's the thing that turns random people on the internet into like, oh, I need to have a call with Jonathan or Jonathan's team. I was thinking about like what episode to do today. I had a lot of ideas, but then, you know, we were having these chats inside AJ and Smart. What makes us the most money? It's webinars. But why don't we try this and this and this? Webinars make us the most money, so let's do webinars. When we want to launch an event, how should we launch it? With a webinar. New course, webinar. Need more clients, webinar. And it's funny because when I talk to my other entrepreneur friends, they're like, webinars are so out of date. Like, do they still work? And I'm like, people have been saying this to me since 2016. Like, what are you talking about? What do you mean do pitches? Like, you're basically telling a story and framing the problem for your client and then saying you can do it. I don't even understand the concept of do webinars work or not work. I think maybe webinars are challenging if you're in a space like the online marketing space, like if you're trying to sell online marketing, because every online marketer knows what a webinar is and they're like, oh, I don't want to get pitched. But if you're in any other space, a webinar is like the most unbelievably ludicrous advantage you can ever have. Now, your webinar, I recommend doing webinars where you're just trying to get a call booking. So you're not trying to sell anything either. You're not trying to like get people on a call on a live training and then sell them something. That's actually very difficult. And then, yeah, like people will be like, oh, it's a scam, whatever. Just deliver crap tons of value. Like this book will teach you how to deliver that value, Expert Secrets. Deliver ludicrous amounts of value in the webinars. And guess what? People will want to have a call with you and learn more. Not everyone, though. Not everyone will want to have a call. 1 out of 10 will want to have a call. Maybe 2 out of 10. We have a lot of people in our community who do this strategy, who run this strategy. And I saw one posted last week. She did a webinar. I think 6 people turned up and 2 people booked a call. And I'm like, that's amazing. First webinar ever. 6 people turn up and 2 people book a call. It's unbelievable. Webinars are amazing. And I know not everybody wants to do them. And I know, when I tell people this, it's like, yeah, but that doesn't work for everybody. By the way, I want to do an entire episode on this topic of, I'm telling you right now that this works. Okay. I've been running AJ and Smart for the last 13 years. We make millions in revenue and profit. If you live in Germany, I guess you can look up how much money we make just to prove it to yourself. Cause it's public record. We have been doing this through webinars. Like a huge amount of this has been through webinars. I was listening, I was watching a video that Chris Doe put out and we were messaging about it. One of the stupidest things that people do, like someone gives you advice, someone who is in the same business as you, who's making more money than you and who's figured out more of the things than you is telling you do this thing. And then you go off and you're like, nah, I don't know. Maybe I'm going to try a few other things. That doesn't work. Like when I join a mastermind or when I get a mentor or when I'm on Twitter or listening to a podcast from someone who's just ahead of me and they're like, do this. Like Sam Ovens, when I was in his mastermind, he was like, do the VSL funnel. It's a type of funnel. He was like, do the VSL funnel, stop all your other funnels. I'm not like, oh yeah, Sam, but that doesn't work. I literally switched every other funnel off and turned on the VSL funnel. I just want to see if it works. I just want to see if someone who's more far ahead than me knows stuff that I don't know, and I assume they do. So I'm telling you guys, if you're listening to this podcast, I'm telling you webinars work. I'm not asking for, hey, it doesn't work for everyone. It does work for everybody. It absolutely does work for everybody. If you want to get call bookings, then run webinars. Now you're like, I don't have a big following online. You have to figure out how to get traffic. Traffic, I'll do an entire episode on. But in the meantime, there's a book called Traffic Secrets. There's a billion YouTube videos out there on how to get traffic. I also talk about it all the time in this podcast. Please, guys, center point of what you do, free trainings. Now, these free trainings, by the way, they can also be in person. You probably hear me talking this to our, if you're in my inner circle coaching community, you'll know that that's one of the most common things that I teach people how to do. But guys, please listen to me, please. You will get one new client every month if you did this. Probably from like the 6th month on. You'll get one new client every month, and then you'll always know how to generate clients. And because you'll have this thing to send people to, you'll have this system. Let me open this up on the screen again. So a lot of you get confused about your marketing because there's no center point. So here, you're like, I'm posting on LinkedIn and I don't know if it's doing anything. Now, when you're posting on LinkedIn and sending people to when you're posting stuff on LinkedIn and you're sending people to your free training, you'll know how many registrations you got this week. So if you've been going hardcore on LinkedIn, but you're getting no signups for free training, then something's not working. Then you know you can try something else. Then you're like, I'll try some Google ads. And then that brings you 2 registrations. Then you're like, that's kind of working. So you don't really know if your traffic's working unless you have a specific thing to send people to, which then generates call bookings. And the cool thing is then you can actually have a mathematical system. So what I can tell you for us is like when you do a live free training, about 20% of the people will book a call with you, even if it's not the best one ever. I actually have a really important point to tell you here. And about 20%, once you get a bit better, so 15 to 20% will actually book your service. So you can really do the math here. So it's like if 10 people turn up to your event, 2 people will book a call with you, and maybe one of those people will buy your services, but only maybe. Webinars, especially a call booking webinar, the goal is not anything else. What is the goal? Is to sell the call with you. So you're doing all this teaching, you're giving away all this information to sell the call with you. It's not an aside. It's not like, oh, by the way, if you want to jump on a call. No, you're selling that concept of jumping on the call with you. Guys, go to facilitator.com and watch the webinar I recorded in 2020. This webinar still generates millions for us. It's unbelievable. Please watch it. Fucking steal it. I don't care. Just believe me, okay? Why am I so like frustrated here? Because I've been trying to tell people to do. I'm trying to like, even at my own company, even to myself. I'm probably talking to myself here. Stop doing other things that are fancy, like doing conferences to generate leads, all this kind of stuff. Especially if you're not trying to be a $1 billion company and trying to build a huge brand. I'm building a cash flow business here. That's also important. If you're listening to the Unscheduled CEO, I cannot teach you how to build a 100 million. I can't even teach you how to build a 20 million per year company. I don't know how to do that. I don't have one. But if you're looking for, under 10 million revenue with a 35% profit margin If you're under that and you're not trying to build a huge brand, even though AJ and Smart, you think it's a big brand, we never focus on that, then webinars are an amazing way to do it. Amazing. There's so much stuff around it. I could literally talk about this I think I could talk about webinars nonstop, all of the tactics, all of the how to get traffic, all of the things that worked, all of the things that don't, what to do when you're on the call for literally 7 days straight. Just 7 days. But that's all I'm going to give you today. Let me know what you think. If you have a comment you want to leave, go to howtobusiness.substack.com, go to this episode, and you can leave a comment. You can also leave a comment here on YouTube. Let me know what you think. I mean, what I'm trying to do here is tell you a system that works. Webinars, it's not a branded thing. I don't care if you do it, right? I don't get any money if you do webinars or not. I just genuinely want people listening to this podcast to get value. So if you have a comment, if you have something you want me to talk about next week, I sometimes read the comments as like the mailbox. And so I can just leave a comment on howtobusiness.substack.com and go to the latest episode. You can comment on that there. You can also go to youtube.com for this episode. If you're on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button on this video so that when a YouTube video comes out, you'll hear about it. And 40% of you who listen to this podcast are not subscribed in any podcast app. You're listening to it in the browser window. I would recommend going to a podcast app, searching for this, hitting the subscribe button and the notification button. That way you'll just get notified when there's a new episode. And I also will not be emailing about the special voice note episode on a Thursday. So that is... kind of a one-off thing. So if you got this far in the episode, thank you so much for listening. It was a longer one this week. Let me know what you think about also doing it in this video format, if it's in any way interesting. Also, let me know if you listen like on YouTube. I'm still trying to figure this thing out. It's still a small podcast. It's still just a side project. And if you want to come to LA, you have until the 7th of May to fill out that form. And then I'm doubling the price. So it's $5,000 right now. I'm going to change it to $10,000. When I actually officially tell people about this is purely because I would prefer personally if this event fills up just with the people from the podcast, and I don't have to go out and, I mean, it's not a big difficult thing to do, but I don't have to go out and then send a broader email. But of course, I want to sell it and I want to have a good margin for error on the profit. And so I'm going to put it up to just to be super transparent, I'm going to put it up to between $8,000 and $10,000. I'm not 100% sure about 10,000. It could be 8,000. I'm playing with it right now. Right now, what I know is the 5,000 is actually so cheap that pretty much everyone who would go wants to go. But make sure you apply. We're going to be talking about webinars a lot. We're going to be having conversations like this. We're going to be at Sam Oven's office, the fucking king of the recording one webinar and having it run for like 5 years and make some millions of dollars. I think you should come to this event if you've any interest in the things that we talk about on this podcast. And please, as always, these events are one-off. This is not part of the core business of AJ and Smart. This is like a side thing. It's going to be super fun. You should definitely come to it if you have any ambition of growing your business and getting new clients. And thank you so much for listening to the pod. Oh, I forgot to do all the music stuff here. Oh, well, whatever. What was the thing I used to do? Was it this outro music? Yeah. Well, guys, thanks for listening to the podcast. Of course, by the way, you don't need to buy anything from me. I'm happy you're here. I'm happy for you all to just be giving me your time. If you're not spending any money with AJ and Smart, there is one thing you can do for me. There is one thing. That thing is tell one other person about this podcast. Or post about it somewhere. I do need more people to listen to this. I talked about this before. I'm motivated by sort of growth, and the podcast is growing right now. But, my previous podcast, Jake and Jonathan, I think we stagnated at 12,000 listeners per episode. And as soon as it started stagnating, I just got bored of it. And I stopped doing it. Although actually the main reason we stopped doing it was because we couldn't coordinate. But still, I mean, if it had been growing like crazy, I'm sure we would have found a way. But if you can tell one other person about this podcast, or if you can post about it, or you can share a clip. Listen, people are often messaging me and asking, hey, what can I do for you? How can we meet for a coffee? All of this. I'm trying to grow this podcast, so help me out on that one. If you've got some ideas, actually, I'm going to do a whole episode on that. The Canvas strategy. The episode is going to be called like how to get people to mentor you who are too busy, that kind of thing. I'm going to do an episode on that. Thank you so much, everyone. This Thursday, there'll be another episode, a little voice note. I hope you're having a great Tuesday. I hope it's a really good Tuesday. Yeah. I didn't think that note was going to happen. I thought we were going so out of tune. I'm so glad almost no one gets to the end of these. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate your time. All right. Okay, that's the audio version complete. That was an intense episode. I feel kind of drained after it, actually. I'm like a mixture of excited and tired. If you did get this far on YouTube, let me know. And I do genuinely appreciate, I am actually very excited about the podcast. I am excited about this project. I woke up yesterday and I was like, or I woke up today, recording this, and I was just like, cannot wait to get this episode out. I'm so excited about it. Yeah, thank you for listening, and thank you for your support. And I hope this episode was somewhat helpful. Again, if you want to listen to the audio version on Tuesday, there's the voice note. Check that out. Podcast app. Bye, everyone. Oh, I have this fade out thing I'm going to do.